Bags are packed, are you ready to go? This time tomorrow we'll be on the road.
Hello and welcome back to Expedition Builds. So we just picked up the new Rubicon Recon at a dealership, Dwayne Wade's in Seattle. And we're in the process of getting her broken in, driving back to Chicago. So we've got this wonderful Western road trip. So I thought I'd take some time to relay some thoughts about the differences I'm noticing between my previous JK, which was fully built, and the new Recon. So let's take a look at that. First off, steering on the Recon on the 2020 is really spot on, very tight. I have zero play in the steering wheel. I'm happy about that because I know that early on in the 18s and 19s there was a lot of steering play that people were fighting and dealing with. So glad to say that on this Jeep, steering feels spot on. It's nice and tight, it's very firm. Feels great on the highway. We're currently running 72 miles an hour. Let me set the cruise control so I can talk to you guys a little bit. We're cruising at 72. I do have to raise my voice. The vehicle is much quieter than the previous JK. That's one of the first things I notice. Also, new to me, of course, with this Recon is the 2-liter E-TEC motor. Coupled with the 8-speed automatic I'm finding to be an amazing drivetrain. The turbo has incredible mid-range punch. Sometimes when you're passing or you're just out on this one, a straight highway through the high desert, it's easy to look down and you do an 85-90. It just doesn't feel like what I was used to in a Jeep platform. My JK gave me so much feedback that you knew by the sound pretty much how fast you were traveling. Or to try to have a nice civil conversation without raising your voice to get over the wind. So all those things are better. In terms of ride, it rides better than my stock JK did, but I got a feeling that I can make this better with the aftermarket when I do my lift. Haven't decided on my lift choices yet, but I've got two in mind, but I think I can, based on what I did with my metal cloak lift on the last build, I think we can actually do a little better with the way it rides. The Jeep still has that kind of abrupt up and down, which I think must be the way Jeep engineers tune the suspension, because I noticed with my JK when I did the lift that I got rid of a lot of that hard up and down motion. So we'll see whether I go Terraflex or metal cloak, and I know I'm going to run Falcon shocks that I think I can make the ride even better. In terms of cornering with on the 2020 JL platform, it corners you guys almost dead flat. That's another one of those handling things. You're surprised at how wonderfully flat the cornering is. So liking the way the Jeep has dialed the vehicle in right from the start. Seats feel a little better. All the switchgear inside the JL, and I'll show you guys that, has been improved. Everything just feels like it's got a little more quality built into it. Everything that you interface with and touch just feels a little more quality. And kind of with Jeep's ethos, you can do everything electronically through the I have the 8.4 infotainment on this. But you can also pretty much input anything or get to anything you need quickly with some pretty big dials on the dash, and I'll show you those. So I'm loving the way it feels. The build quality seems great. What they did with the Recon package is nice. The red seat belts, the red stitching, the leather dash with the red French stitch on that is really attractive. It's probably, for a Jeep, one of the more polished Jeep environments I've been in, for the Wrangler platform at least, right? So anyways, loving the drivetrain. I can't say enough about that. We're getting about 24 to 25 miles per gallon out on the interstate now, running about 72. I think that gets better as we break it in and we loosen things up a little bit. At least that's what I've been noticing on the with other people's experiences. So that's kind of, let's end it there and call that kind of the first report on how we like the new JL. But Jeep definitely did their homework with this one. So we'll put a few more miles and get back to you guys on it. Okay, so we spent the whole day, we left Bend, Oregon, just before midday and headed down to Salt Lake City. So it's been a good long run, about over 10 hours to drive, but it's given me a pretty good feel for what the Recon's like out on the interstate. It's a pretty effortless cruiser. The speed limit here in Idaho was 80, so you can run 85, 87 without breaking a sweat. It's nice and quiet in the cabin. It's comfortable. It tracks down the road really nice. So speaking of tracking down the road, this Jeep is equipped with the Falcons, the mud terrain tire. And right now they've been pretty quiet. And I did just check my inflation. The dealer had them at 55 to 57 pounds, depending on how warm the day got. So I'm gonna, when I get to Salt Lake, I didn't bring my air gauge with me, but I'm gonna let some air out, and we'll do another test and see if it, how it steers, how it drives, how it tracks, with a little less air pressure in there. So, anyways, just a couple thoughts. The 2-liter makes an effortless expedition cruiser, so if that's on your mind, I'm really loving this drivetrain. Also, one last thing on the 8-speed automatic. We were talking earlier about how you don't even notice the downshifts. They're very smooth, and because the gear ratios are so close together with the 8 speeds, I have to watch my tack to kind of be aware when it's does a downshift on a hill or something like that. But most of the time, it's very smooth and you're unaware of it, and you never get a big kick down on the engine like we did with our 5 speeds and the 3.6 and the JK. Where you're aware of the engine working real hard. So this 8-speed transmission just seems to keep it right in a sweet spot the entire time, and can't say enough about it. I'm loving it. So that'll be it for this report. See you soon. So we're back. It's day 3 now of interstate work with the new 2020 Recon, and I thought I'd post some thoughts on what I think. This drivetrain, you guys, by the way, is just an effortless touring machine. Way out west in the mountains, climbing hills with it. It's never feeling like it's taxed at all. It's never feeling like it's working hard. Power delivery on the interstate is always immediate, and the thrust is just fantastic. So loving the drivetrain. I haven't been keeping a real good watch on miles per gallon because, to be honest, I'm having a lot of fun putting my foot in it when we're coming out of towns and such. So First mod, I think. So this just would be my first mod on the brand new Jeep. And it's going to be a dead pedal, because just like on the JK, your left foot is kind of left flopping around in the footwell. And to have it lined up with the accelerator would have you sitting more squarely in the seats, would be more comfortable for this long distance interstate work like we're doing these last few days. So today's trip is, we were in Salt Lake City for a couple days, visiting family and friends. We're headed down to Moab today, so it's only about a 3.5 hour trip, not too far, so it'd be quick, and we get the new JL on the trails in its stock form, which will be fun. And I get to introduce my wife for the first time to Moab, which I'm very much looking forward to, as well as getting her some seat time off-road. So very much looking forward to that. Back to the seats. The seats are very comfortable. I think they're definitely an upgrade from what we had in the JK. The cabin is very quiet. Let's see, what else am I missing? We talked about the dead pedal. The efficiency is good. Power delivery is just excellent with this engine. Like I said, I know what I want to talk about. So here's my thinking as this is my 3rd day behind the wheel since we picked it up in Seattle. I think my build ethos for this Jeep is going to be to keep it as lightweight as possible and to add the capabilities that I'm looking for in an expedition style build. So armor will be aluminum. I think I'm going to run 37s. I'm running the Nitto, the 37 by 12.5 Nittos on my JK now, and they've been superb off-road. Those are the Ridge Grapplers. They've been superb off-road as well as on. Speaking of tires, I mentioned earlier that we're running the Falcons, or the Falcon MTs on these. At highway speed, if the radio's off, you hear a very slight hum, which is kind of indicative of a mud tire, of that tread. So they're not bad, but they're not as quiet as the Nitto Ridge Grappler. So that tire is the top of my choice right now, but we've got some time to consider all things. So that's it for this report. We'll post again when we hit Moab and get Ruby off-road here for a little bit and see what she can do in stock trim. So we'll be back soon. So here we are back in Moab. It's kind of funny that the new Recon makes her debut here completely stock form, but this is going to be fun. It's always great coming back to this town. It's got such a cool vibe to it.
You are approaching your destination.
So we're going to go get checked into the trail,
You
or
have reached your destination.
we're going to go get checked into the hotel, and then we're going to go grab some lunch and find some trails to run. We'll check back with you soon. Our first trail run in Moab would be out towards Dubinki Well and onto Spring Canyon Bottom. Spring Canyon Bottom was the first trail I ever ran in Moab, and it was great to share with my wife. Here we are at the top of Spring Canyon Bottom. As you can see, it's spectacular. At the bottom of the canyon, you end up on the Green River. Look how spectacular that is. Here's what it looks like as we climb out of the canyon. You're basically hugging the cliff wall. Spectacular doesn't begin to describe this, although I gotta say it freaked my wife out quite a bit. And now a bird's eye view at the top. After another sublime day on the trail, it was time to head back to Moab and get something to eat. For our second day in Moab, we decided to run a trail called Hidden Canyon Overlook. The trail is rated moderate, and I thought this would be a good one, as to not scare my wife too much and perhaps even get her behind the wheel for her first experience wheeling a Jeep. Here's a look. All right, baby steps. My wife's ready to wheel for her first time, and this trail is perfect for her. This obstacle was about 22 to 24 inches high, and we did scrape on the skids a little bit. All right, now let's take a look at stock Rubicon flexing. As I said earlier, I wasn't too impressed with this. This is with the front sway bar disconnected, but the limiting factor here is the small amount of travel we have before we're on the bump stops. The axle drop is not too bad for a stock setup, but the up travel, well, we're going to fix that with a good aftermarket lift. Moab never disappoints. So we're back with another installment. So we picked up the new JL in Seattle, and we drove Seattle to Bend, Oregon, day one, which was really a lovely trip. Day two was Bend, Oregon to Salt Lake City. So we've got some time in different terrain. We've got a lot of interstate. I think this is going to be a really great break-in period for the new 2-liter Hurricane. Salt Lake, we went down to Moab, and Moab was great because we got to get Ruby on the trails for a couple of days. That was fun. It was nice to get it out and flex her, and I'll show you guys what stock flex looks like on the Recon. I wasn't impressed with it, I have to say. I know we can do so much better in the aftermarket once we decide what lift we're going to run. But overall, off-road, it did well. We were on the 33s on maybe like a 24-inch obstacle. We did scrape the skids just a little bit, but you know, it's a Rubicon, so climbs like a billy goat. I will say that the Falken tires, these are the mud terrains that we have in this, the 33s that came stock, I'm just under 3,000 miles now. You definitely hear them on the freeway at 80, 85. There's an absolute hum that is detectable inside the cabin, so they're getting a little bit louder. I also, regarding the tires, the dealership had them inflated to almost 50 pounds, you know, which is a lot. The Jeep did handle really well on the interstate, though, I have to say. So when we got to Moab, I took the pressure down to 33, 34 pounds, which was so much better off-road. But on the interstate at 34 pounds, they just felt like mush. A lot of the steering feedback was gone. The front end just felt soft and wasn't, you know, really felt like it wanted to travel real straight and real nice. So for this trip, headed back to Chicago, which is we're going to have 12 hours of interstate today. We're back up to 45 pounds. I did notice about a mile per gallon difference lower with the softer tires, so I may go up. I think these particular Falcons on the interstate, somewhere around 50 is actually good. It's your best mileage per gallon with them, and it also, the steering feedback is just better with them, running them with more inflation in them. So steering on this Jeep is excellent. It's one finger straight. There's no correcting to do. It's pretty windy outside today on this trip through Nebraska, and I'm definitely feeling us getting pushed around just a little bit. But overall, things I love about the JL. It's super comfortable. It's much more quiet than my JK was. All the switchgear has been upgraded. Everything feels good. Has a good quality feel to it when you interact with all the switchgear. Like I said, steering's great. The ride is not bad for, it's the way Jeep likes to dial them in. There's that real quick, abrupt up-down motion that you get from the suspension that I know we can make so much better when we go to the aftermarket. So I'll show you guys a little bit of footage of Ruby off-road and, tackling some small obstacles. But the 2-liter eTorque motor has been phenomenal in the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. It just, it runs, first of all, it runs very cool. You'll see 224 is about as warm as I could make it. You'll flatten out mountain ranges. The 8-speed transmission with this particular motor is, to me, is pretty much a flawless combination. It never feels like you're pushing it hard. It never feels like it's working much. It's quiet enough in here that downshifts with the 8-speed on the interstate, when I'll drop from the 8th gear to a 7 or even the 6th gear in the mountains, you don't really hear the engine rev. It just clicks down very quietly, very soft. Sometimes I'll have to look down at my tach and say, oh, we're just, went a gear lower. So loving all of that. Was one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. No, I'm forgetting. So anyways, my mileage looks like on the interstate we're running about 83 to 84 miles per hour. I'm seeing around 17, 18 at best right now with, with 2 of us in the Jeep, and we've had some windy days. So if you drop it back to around 70, 75, you're pushing up in the 20s there. So, but for me, it's been nice to get on the gas and feel the turbo. Another thing about the turbo, it's got such a beautiful linear power delivery when you're on the interstate already rolling. That passing it's just flawless. I can't say enough about the way I love the way this drivetrain setup drives, and the Jeep feels so lively. So I know the engineers did a lot to lighten the JL, aluminum doors, aluminum hood, magnesium tailgate. I think the ethos for this build for me is going to try to maintain the performance that we're feeling, this wonderful lively feel that the Jeep has now. Very connected drive. So we're going to go lightweight and capable on this one. So that's going to be kind of my mantra on this one, lightweight and capable. So I'll get back one more time when we conclude this trip, but so far the new JL has been flawless. Talk to you soon. All right, just so a few more thoughts, observations I just had. So the navigation on the JL is much improved over what we were offered on the JK. I'm running the 8.4 nav, nice big bright screen. Backup camera is superb. I'll show you guys pictures of that. It gives you lots of information to have up. It allows you to place it either on this screen or in the driver's screen in the main the dash area between your speedo and tach. All customizable, which I liked a lot. It also gives you a feature called off-road, and off-road will give you big bright screenshots of what's going on with your transfer case settings, axles locked or unlocked, sway bar disconnect, that sort of thing. It also allows me to put up all of my instrument readouts, so coolant temperature, oil temperature, transmission temperature, oil life remaining, oil pressure, all that can be up on one screen, as well as a a tilt feature, which is pretty cool for off-road to kind of tell you when you're getting a little too close to the edge maybe. So loving all that. This it's very modern in here. They've given us some really nice conveniences and everything works really well. So hats off to the Jeep engineers for that. Also, one last thing, the brakes on the JL. I'm loving these. You know, the first thing I did on my JK was to go to a BBK on the front, big brake kit, because even with the 31-inch tires I had on there, it didn't stop well. With the 33s on the new JL, brakes are pretty fantastic. I know they've gone bigger all the way around, all four corners. The brake feels very progressive. Once you get a slight bit of temperature in them, in other words, you just start a little bit of pressure on the pedal, you'll feel them come on in a nice linear pull. So they can be real aggressive or they can be just real smooth. I love the way they're set up. I don't think I'm going to have to do any brake upgrades on this for quite some time, unless I was going to go really big like 39s or 40s. So anyways, those are a couple more observations I had. I'm really looking forward to getting started with some mods on this new JL. This drivetrain has proven itself to be a perfect touring machine, and I think this will make an excellent expedition style rig. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please hit the subscribe button and show us your support. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the trails.